Hi guys, and welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. We help Muslims and non-Muslims alike to understand and handle Islam in the 21st century. We consider ourselves to be decent human beings, so we condemn categorically any abuse, oppression, misogyny, slavery, violence, anything like that. We do embrace, however, free speech and also criticism, even if it is directed at us, if it is factual and constructive criticism. We focus on Islam exclusively. So if you're curious about anything Islam, you've come to the right place. Now, we don't attack, which is aggressive, destructive, and antagonistic, neither Islam nor Muslims. We ask questions and show facts. We refute false claims and present the reality of Islam, which is political Islam. We inspect, investigate, research, analyze, and then report and critique on Islam, the ideology, not the people. Now, the live stream goes to YouTube and Facebook, and there are three ways that you can participate in this. Either you join us in the live written chat, you can join the panel during the live show, or later on watch and comment the archive. And anyone can join to comment, critique, contribute, or question. This is not a Dawa channel with censorship. Don't go to Patreon, don't go to PayPal. Everything here is free. The way we work is usually we have some news, some Krazy Komments, a segment where we go and read the Quran, and then a discussion on the theme of the month, followed by integrating the live chat, ending with a Hadith of the week. If this is not enough Islam for you, there's still the Discord channel where you can discuss with us without anything being recorded. See you later and enjoy the Gin and Tonic Show. Hello. Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. It's the 8th of January 2021. It sounds better than 2020. No, actually 2020 had a nice ring to it. Nobody knew it was going to be such a catastrophe. Welcome to a new show in the new year. Welcome to the same old Rob. Hello, how are you? How did you make it into the year?
Evening, Stops. Good evening, everybody, all the viewers. Yeah, we made it reasonably unscathed, and obviously grateful to be here and to be healthy and alive and well. So in that respect, I extend the same to everybody else. So let's have a good show.
Oh, it's going to be great today. We're going to do a lot of things. All right. So let me kick off with one thing that is very dear to my heart. That is the quote of the week. No, the quote of the, what you might call it, this show. Let me just switch off the banner here. Thank you very much. This is the quote that I have selected for this week. He knows what is in every heart. Now, so do I. So does everybody here. So we are just as good as this God. So we know what is in every heart, and that is blood. We know this. So we are equal to the God. So there's nothing special here about the God in the Quran who knows what is in every heart. There you go. So this is a quote that I thought is quite fitting because it shows what we are dealing with. It shows, and this is something that we will see repeated later on in the pillars. Now, the funny thing is, if you go and look at the news of the week, the mere rumor that the vaccine against COVID-19, the mere rumor that it contains alcohol drives the entire Islamic Ummah into a frenzy. Now imagine the relief when in Indonesia, the Muslim body declares the Chinese vaccine as being halal. How they have established this, nobody knows. But they've gone out and just simply declared it halal. So if there is alcohol in there, you don't need to worry. The poor people who are going to worry about this, well, it's their own fault because the worries have been taken away from them. They don't have to. It's all good. It has been declared halal. So there you go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our all-time favorite, which is Krazy Komments. It looks crazy. What we need is some sort of jingle in the background. So if anybody can come up with a nice jingle or something like this, or a short video that we can play for this would be quite nice.
Yeah,
Now,
there's something with like, I don't know, something that associates with the sane asylum, and then just comments floating about all over the show or something. I don't know, anything that you can build a bridge that this is going to be a bit loony.
with a Benny Hill theme playing in the background, or what?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Oh shit! Why is he getting you in front? Okay, there we go.
I think because I joined first, I can always leave and rejoin.
Okay, it doesn't matter. I just need to click on a different button. This is a comment I found on Facebook where somebody said, like, hypocrites like you. And I answered, do you know what a hypocrite is? After you've looked it up, please show where this is applicable to me. Because I don't think I'm a hypocrite. This is just somebody throwing around words he doesn't understand. So what comes back is you are a word twister, a perfect example of a hypocrite. So he really doesn't know what a hypocrite is. But then it gets quite strange. Don't worry about my spelling. As long as you get the message, whether I crack you with a wooden baseball bat or aluminium, I still crack you upside the head. Get the message, fool. Isn't that lovely?
One of those dogmatic, potentially violent people.
Isn't that lovely? This is from the religion of peace. This is how a Muslim reacts. If you are showing him that he uses words he doesn't understand, and I'm giving him constructive criticism, look it up and show me where I have been a hypocrite, because I haven't. And all he has is he can go and just threaten me with violence. Pharmaceutical companies use it for solvent in most companies. This is the problem. This is the problem, and this is what is driving now the Muslim Ummah into a frenzy, because they are so worried that they're not allowed to take this, and it takes now clerics to tell them, no, don't worry, it's fine. Because I don't know if you remember, we talked about this a lot of times, that it is the intent that declares whether or not it's halal or not. So if you are intentionally taking alcohol to get drunk or something, so that this khamr, this word, covers your brain, then you should avoid it. But if you don't intend to do this, so this is their copper, this is the way that they get around it, because they're saying, well, if you take cough syrup and there's some alcohol in it, or now with the vaccine, well, then your intention is not so that it covers your brain, but it's actually, it has a medicinal character, then you are allowed to do it. Because it shows you how the absolute words in the Quran need to be softened down and need to be interpreted by humans. It's always the same thing. As soon as the Quran gets specific, it's wrong. So it takes humans then to go and correct it and give it the right kind of context or something, so that it makes sense. Always the same thing. But thanks for that, Krishna. Okay, another one. This was a woman who made some really, really, well, I mean, I don't know if this is a woman. Is it Anissa? From the picture, yes, but you don't know who is behind this. But from the name and from the picture, this was a female, made some like really terrible comments and this is the funny thing, in a group on Facebook which is called Islam Logic and Reasoning. And she is now very surprised that she's getting like pushback for stupid comments, for stupid claims, which normally they will go through. If this is a Shia, Muslim, Islamic, whatever channel or group or whatever, everybody will say, yeah, you're right. But here, some people are more logical and more rational, and she's getting pushback, and she doesn't understand what's going on. So I said, what is outright weird is that every god or goddess reflects the knowledge available to people at that time. As soon as you apply reason and logical thinking, they simply evaporate. So bringing up opinions of philosophers from 1,000 years ago does not really help. And I'm getting, a like and quite funny, yeah. And this Anissa was so shocked by this that she turned off commenting for this post because she couldn't handle it. And then she wrote another comment and said, "What kind of a group is this? Is this an anti-Islam group? I thought this was a Muslim group," because she couldn't handle that people are giving her uphill. And I was not the only one. She was getting a lot of flack for her stupid post. But you know, if you're in an echo chamber, then it works. But in this case, it doesn't. Again, yes, this is a weird guy. He says, "Why don't you join me live?" Now, I've been going on and off with this guy for like 2 weeks now, and that he is challenging me. Why don't you join me live? So I said, "Well, go set it up." But instead, you know, I'm making him an offer. I'm live tomorrow night, so this was yesterday, on the weekly Gin and Tonic show. So you can come over and shred me to bits, because this is what he's threatening me with. So he says, so you run that shit show. So obviously people are aware of the Gin and Tonic show, but it's a shit show. And he says, "Sorry, coming to a sophist channel is the last thing I'll do." I wonder if he knows what sophist actually is. I doubt it very much.
Yeah, it's amazing how they come up with all kinds of excuses not to come here, isn't it?
It's good fun.
But they feel safe when there's 4 or 5 of them and they're on the moderator button. Then somehow they feel a bit more safe. It's like a safe space, right? They're allowed to venture out. It's a big world out there.
Yeah, because then they can mute you and kick you, because then they're in control. But coming here, no way. But I said, okay, set it up. And I told him again, you set it up. You don't have to come here. I'm prepared to go to a different channel, different venue. We can make it a neutral one, no problem. Let's have a chat. I'm open to have a chat, no problem. But the funny thing is, these kids, I think these are kids, they come up with, "Why don't you join me live? I challenge you to come and debate me." And they are so shocked when you say, "Okay." I've had this a couple of times now. I don't know if you remember this funny imam from Durban. And this imam, he was so wild. He said, "Okay, I challenge you, come and I said, "Okay, set it up." And he ran. He says, "Okay, I challenge you, go and critique my book." I said, "Okay." And then he said no, so I didn't. They are so shocked when you actually agreed to that. Oh, goodness. Okay, here, this is the last one. This is a comment on Mohammed Hijab's channel. I just want to show people, okay? People always ask me, why is it that you claim that you are being blocked and banned and blah, blah, blah? Okay, so this is just an example. So here you can say, on top you can see 67 comments, okay? So, and I am commenting as in my, I am skeptic because I'm not blocked there. So I'm giving him, repeating lies does not make them true. Were Israelites enslaved in Egypt? There is no evidence to support the claim. Egyptians will also answer on and so forth. So I'm giving him like very straightforward, like facts, like I'm asking questions or straight. I'm not insulting. I'm not attacking him personally. I'm not talking even to him. I'm just addressing the points raised in the video. So there is no animosity here. I'm saying the pyramids still exist, whereas the Quran claims that everything has been destroyed of the past. Well, no. And then dead cattle can't suffer from boils, and just factual things. Now, what happens if I go back a little bit later? One thing I want to point out: if you go to the people here, you can see that this, what was his name, Moscovium, and this Malik Itani, their comments are right here. Okay, so if I go a couple of days later, suddenly the comments are down to 66. And I make sure to click on newest first. All right, now I'm with my Stop Spamming logo, and there you see Moscovium and Malik Itani. So their comments are still there, and my comment is missing. So I think this is very, very, very clear that if you go here, And you can see also that this is a prior one from the time that it says that this was Moscovium commented 10 hours ago, and there are 380,000 subscribers, and here already it's 382 or something. Where was it? Yeah, 382,000 subscribers, and you can see now this is 5 days ago. I've given them time to go and
Yeah,
sort this
he's
out.
obviously deleting your comments, right? Or
So
somebody is going to claim, oh, it's not me, I've got moderators. Somebody's deleting it, whoever it is deleting it. I'm not sure that there would be much to debate with Hijab. I don't take him particularly seriously. There's other people that would be better to have a discussion with. I mean, his diabolically bad performance with Jack Angstreich and his attempt to try and argue for the contingency argument, it's just terrible. But all we have to do is go to the book, right? And like I say, just stop not being talking about. You just go to the Quran, right? And that's where they all just crumble. So
yeah.
I'm not sure that I would. But if I do, I would go in hard. It won't be the politer version of me. I'd really go in, I think, a lot harder with somebody like that.
Okay. Next up, the Krazy Koran.
Oh, I like the intro. Nice.
Okay, what I need to
Who's
do
that
now
handsome
is
devil
just.
there? Huh? Who's that handsome devil?
Oh, did I forget? This is me. This is the tune version of me. I
I
thought
don't
this
think
is
you'll be able
quite
to.
funny.
You won't be able to track stops down with that anyway, though, in case there was somebody like that.
Okay, let me quickly open the file. The Krazy Koran. Actually, I'm calling it the Reader's Digest Quran. So your browser has blocked your screen. What? What the hell? Okay, this is always funny. All right, I've got the.
It wouldn't be the Gin and Tonic show without some techie thing going
No,
on
but
and stops aside. If it
I don't
went all
get it.
smoothly, I'd be sure that this is not the real stops on the other end of the line.
But I always have this like working and everything is cool and 100% when I test it, when I'm doing, and then when I come here, suddenly something disappears. Okay, here we
Yeah,
go.
Cosmic Skeptic dealt with him and did a whole review and so forth as well. Cool, there
Yeah,
you go. We can see that. Make it a bit bigger, maybe stops if you can. But there we go. It looks all right. Cool.
dude, now I just need to find it again. There we go. Okay,
Cool.
so what we did last week, we did up until sentence number 40, where it says in 39, you will be punished if you don't. In other words, what is wrong with you? Why can't you die for Allah? And then it says you will be punished if you don't, which is nonsensical. I mean, why can't you die? You will be punished if you don't. I mean, I don't know who thinks of things like that. But you will be replaced. Okay, so this is the threat. This is a real threat now. Because Allah is more powerful than you. I mean, please, I don't know who dreams up sentences like this, really. I mean, if this is not man-made, what is? There's no way a God can write something silly like this, really. And then Allah helped to drive out the non-believers. And there we had this problem that nobody knows, drive out from where? Then some of the scholars say it's the Battle of Tabuk, and some people it's out of Mecca, and some people it's the Hijrah, and then it's the story of the cave, and we went through all this with the spider and blah, blah, blah. So now it continues with 41, where it says, fight for Allah with wealth and life. Now, we always get told by Muslim apologists that this is peaceful. Islam is peace. Now, if you're fighting with your life, this is not about peace. Now, here you can see on the screen now the original. Now, just to explain what I do is I take the Quran and then I go and look at the different interpretations. I look at different versions, different translations and different interpretations. And then I sort of percolate everything, and then this is the essence. So the essence that I see here, if I take the corpus, go forth, light or heavy, strive with your wealth and your lives, and then in way Allah. That better for you if you know. So from this, I come up with my own tafsir, which is fight for Allah with wealth and life. And if anybody finds a mistake, please tell me if I have misinterpreted or if I have put something in there that is not there or forgotten something, then please correct me. I am not a god, I'm a human being, and therefore I make mistakes. So this can include something, even though I do my damnedest to avoid this, but there could be. So if you have something, please let me know. So in other words, fight for Allah with wealth and life, which if you fight with your life, it can't be peaceful. Okay, you can't. I mean, the people yesterday or 2 days ago who were, going into the Capitol in Washington in the US, this was a shock for me. They went into like running into Parliament, running into the offices of the administration and going and like really desecrating the place, urinating in the offices and causing chaos. This is not something that is peaceful. And people came out there and they said, why are they stopping us? We were completely peaceful. They were not. This is the same thing. So, and I found so many like parallels between what is happening in politics and what is happening in religion, how people are being instrumentalized, how somebody like Trump can go and spread lies and total falsehoods, which everybody can see this is wrong. And yet there are people who are willing to believe it, and they are willing to act on it. And this is the terrible part. And this is the same thing that Trump said to people: fight for me with wealth and life. Give me your money and then go and risk your life. I will be with you, he says. I'm going to be with you. And then what does he do? He gets into his armored car and drives off into the bubble of the White House where he's safe. What a hypocrite. But this is exactly what we see in the Quran, the same thing. Allah doesn't do anything. He lets the people go and give the money and give their lives. He doesn't get involved here. Same story. So this is quite uncanny, I think. Okay, sentence 42. If it was easy, they would have followed. And I'm asking, who? Who is they? What are we talking about?
Hello, boys.
Oh, look who's here. Hello, Mustafa.
Good evening.
Good evening. As for whoever has not seen me or seen me for the first time, my name is Mustafa or Mustafa. I'm an ex-Muslim, ex-Shia Muslim, and I think that just sums it up, and you can poke fun of my name as much as possible. How are you guys?
All good. In the middle of going through the Quran. How are you?
I'm okay. We can proceed. We can definitely proceed with the Quran.
If you have a comment, you know what to do, Sean.
All right.
So if it was easy, they would have followed. And I'm putting there who? Who is they? Who is it who is being addressed here? Is it now the prophets? Is it the messengers? Is it non-believers? Is it believers? Who is this talking to? And Allah knows they are liars. So it must be somebody who does not accept what it is that is happening here. And if it's something that people know that it's not true, then they are being considered as liars. Oh, look, we have Thunder here as well. Welcome, Thunder.
Happy New Year
Welcome to
you
2021 as well.
Hi, guys. Sorry I've not been around. I'm so busy at work, but I'll let you carry on with the show and always say hello and congratulations.
Well, it's great to have
muffled
more
there,
people
Thunderous,
here.
but Happy New Year.
Cheers, Jesus. I don't do the New Year or any of that sort of business.
Okie dokie. Cool, you sound a bit better now. I think that's a bit better on the mic. Okay, and here's the sentence as well, right?
Yeah, but Rob, you need to be careful because remember you said this a year ago. Happy New Year, all the best. It's going to be a great year, and look what happened. So don't do
It
that.
would be the best. I just Happy New Year. I can say have a terrible New Year.
That's the irony about why I don't celebrate any of it. It just gets worse and worse and worse.
Well, and what's happening in the White House, that's some news, basically.
Okay, Rob, do you want to show the original again? Because I don't see whom it is addressing. And it doesn't really matter which one you go. If they have religion, they would all, without doubt, they would have the hypocrites. Who is the hypocrites? Which ones are they? Are we talking about
presumably
Muslim hypocrites?
not the faithful Muslims. So
Yeah, but no,
else.
hang on. We had the story about the Muslims who are pretending to be Muslims, but they're not 100% Muslims.
Yeah, that's why I would say it's the faithful Muslims, whoever they are.
Yeah. And And yeah, I would also put in that the very mention of hypocrites here, this is the verse or this is the term that has caused a lot of sectarian conflict and sectarian division,
Exactly.
because every sect sees the other one as hypocrites.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know who is being addressed here. We don't know who is being talked about here. And the original does not talk about hypocrites. This is somebody who says, Sahih International, this is the standard, like Saudi narrative. They think that it's hypocrites. Why do they think it's hypocrites? Based on what? I couldn't find anything. I don't know why they say it's hypocrites. It's not in the Quran. It's not nowhere to be seen. Why do they have this?
Do you think? Do you think the reason why they've got this stops is because it's trying to make more people rally side to the authority of the Quran, as opposed to try and have those sort of like do as I say but not as I do? So you've got more of a bona fide conclusive Islam rather than a minority that tend to be more real to it and the majority that aren't.
Okay, my personal hypothesis is that this is somebody who was referring to a very specific incident, who just said, I mean, these idiots, I mean, come on, if it was easy, they would have followed. But Allah knows that they're liars, so who cares? But we don't know this today. So this is somebody who knew what they were talking about, but couldn't articulate it. And this is why now it's being taken in any which way. Everybody uses it to, mean whatever they want. And this is the problem with the Quran. You can interpret it any way you want. And the problem is, if it gets specific, if it doesn't do this, then it's wrong. So it's really a tough, being caught between a hard and a rock. It's what the hell do you do?
And
the thing is on that as well, is that Allah guides who he wants and he misleads who he wants. So you have to fit that narrative in all of this as well.
Yeah. And Rob is just pointing out, I mean, which one do you choose? You have so many different opinions here. What do we take? Which one is the correct one? It's the same as the different versions of the Quran. Which one is the correct one? How do you establish this? The one guy here, Ibn Abbas, says, well, this is the Battle of Tabuk. Okay, this is what I said there in the next one. And the other guy said, well, no, not really. This is just general hypocrites. So, weird. Anyway, and then the next sentence, 43, is exactly the same problem. Why did you allow the truthful and liars? And it stops. And now the fabrication, the fairy tale part starts, because you have some who are talking about stay behind in jihad, or we're talking about the Battle of Tabuk, or some people say, like even Kathir says, whatever. So we don't know what the Quran is talking about. Why did you allow the truthful and liars? That's not a sentence. That doesn't mean anything. So they have to they sort of have to complement it, and they're saying, well, this must be about staying behind because this is the context. If you take the staying behind, then we're talking about a battle where some people say, well, look, we don't really want to fight because it says in 41, fight for Allah. And if it was easy, they would have been fighting for Allah. But they didn't. So he's saying to Muhammad, why did you allow them to stay behind? And then those who fight for Allah with wealth and life would not ask, in other words, stay behind. So it could be that this is the context. And yes, you can make that case. You can argue the point that this is exactly what it's talking about, and everything then sort of fits together. Well, sort of. But we don't know that. And this is why I'm saying, why would a God not be able to tell us exactly what the hell is going on here? Why would a God remain so ambiguous and vague that you have to come up with the details? You, the human being, has to now improve the Quran and make a half sentence into a full sentence and make some sense out of it. This is these 5 sentences. This is what I don't like.
I even have another. It's something I also hear in Shia circles as well. Like, again, being from a Shia background, that this is referring to Abu Bakr and Umar specifically. This is what I've heard. I haven't found a tafsir that verifies this, but this is common in the oral tradition of during the Muharram season, where we have the oral speeches. So there's the claim that this is who they're referring to, but Muhammad had to keep it a secret, otherwise there would have been...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it gets very ridiculous from there.
and the details they add, and the level, and the
Well, yeah,
attention
but
to
that's here
detail is
talking to
quite
other people,
amazing.
right? Here it's talking about other people as well, right? Presumably, I mean, do they have any historical evidence to suggest who these people were?
No.
This is probably their best guess, right? So here's 942 with a bus talking about these particular people here, claiming that they and their companions. It seems like some people didn't want to go with Muhammad, so it seems like something was said about this to either denigrate these people and or to tell the people that were going with them that you're going with the Prophet, you're with Allah, these people aren't, etc. So it seems like this particular scenario was, if not engineered, certainly something was said about this to buoy on his companions and to denigrate the people that didn't want to go with him.
Exactly. And now go to my personal favorite hypothesis, that this somebody who wrote the Quran needed to tell people, look, if you go with me, I'm going to make you rich, and if you die, you're going to be great in heaven, and you're going to get huge rewards. And if you don't, however, you're going to get punished. Remember, we've seen this before, you get punished. But now, if you don't do that, you're a liar, and you were allowed to stay behind, and now look what happens to you. You're going to be punished, you're going to suffer because you did not. And this is what I think. Remember, for me, the Quran is the recruitment manual, where people are being told, listen, come and fight for me, and then you will benefit. And this is one of the examples where they say, look, these people are made up. I mean, the same with Muhammad. He's a concoction, like a mixture of different people. This is why you suddenly get names there. The Battle of Tabuk. Nobody knows where this was, how this happened. These are made up places. These are made up battles. That's the year of the elephant. Remember this huge battle where thousands of people and their elephants and everything were killed by a couple of birds. There's no evidence for this. The same with Battle of Tabuk. Nobody knows where, what, how. There's no evidence of any of this. So these are all fabrications to show people, I'm threatening you with unbelievable punishment if you don't come and fight for me. Because you will, if you fight for me, then you fight for Allah, and this is good for you. So this is how they were using religion and the superstitious sort of beliefs of the people. This is my personal hypothesis.
Yeah.
Back in a moment, stops.
Sorry?
I think he said back in a moment.
Because you were both talking, because
Oh, sorry.
Musa and Rob were both talking, so I couldn't understand what Rob was saying.
Oh, but I think I'll just give my 2 cents here. Like, even with Abraha, the historical Abraha, for example, who was supposedly defeated in this battle with the birds and the elephants, his death is nowhere close to the year 570. So that presents another hole in the narrative as well. What is he doing in Mecca, practically? Like, he has no business being there.
Yeah, this is the same thing with Abraham. I mean, Abraham was 1,000 kilometers north, normally in the other stories, and now suddenly he's down in Mecca building the Kaaba and things like that. So this is quite strange. Anyway, then 44 carries on along these lines. Those who fight for Allah with wealth and life would not ask. In other words, stay behind. So asking is now synonymous with staying behind. But this is not in the Quran. It's only the interpretations by people which interpret this as staying behind, because they wanted to be in this context. And then 45 says only non-believers would ask. Ask what? Why? Where? How? What? I don't know. They didn't prepare, so Allah made them lag behind. Okay, so now we have a different narrative. Now they're saying, no, this is the Hijrah. So what happened is Muhammad was pestering the people, and he got on their nerves so much that they decided to kill him. Okay, and then he was warned about this, and he then, emigrated. He fled. He ran away in the middle of the night. This is the whole story. But some didn't prepare, so Allah made them lag behind. And remember, we had the last time the story that some of the people are lesser to the others. So the main people were the ones who immediately decided to go to Yathrib, to Medina, and some didn't. And now he is saying, Allah made them lag behind. But in the other sentence, he was displeased with them. And here he's telling them, he makes them. So again, a contradiction in the Quran. And then he says, they would only have confused you. Some will listen to them. Because they stayed behind and they were still doubters. So they were not 100% sure that Muhammad was the prophet and they should follow him. And they were telling others, listen, be careful, maybe he's not, blah, blah, blah. And so some listened to them. They wanted confusion and disliked Allah's truth and commands. So this is talking about the hypocrites now who stayed behind in Mecca, apparently. And they said, some say, leave me alone, and the non-believers will go to hell. Can anybody explain this to me? What does this tell me? I mean, you really need to interpret this. You really need to go to town and make up a context in which this is going to work, in this where this would work. But instinctively, intuitively, immediately, it's not something that you will sort of understand immediately. Welcome, Smart Cat. Jesus, we're getting full house here. Welcome. How did you enter into 21? Are you okay?
Hello, Smart Cat.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year.
No, don't do that.
Hello.
Did you say that last year too?
Did I?
Did you?
I don't know.
Well, if
Maybe.
you did, look what happened.
I have returned to
Welcome,
illuminate the
Smart
darkness.
How was the? Have you survived everything?
Oh man, it was a great hibernation. Great
Okay,
hibernation.
good. All right, then we'll just continue with the Quran, and then if you want to jump in, if you can, if somebody would confront you with a sentence, some say, "Leave me alone," and the non-believers will go to hell. What does that tell you?
Some say, I gotta view this right here. I can't say anything right now. I just jumped in, man. Give me a
This is
minute.
why I'm jumping on you, so that you don't have the time to look at any interpretation, but to give me your immediate reaction, the unbiased version of the truth. What is it that you
okay, all right.
understand if somebody tells you that?
Okay, ambush journalism. Just say it one more time so I know I can talk.
Exactly. Some say, leave me alone, and the non-believers will go to hell.
Okay, permit me. I don't know what to say about this. Some say, well, leave me alone. And then,
That's exactly the honest answer that you have to give if you don't want to speculate and you don't want to start waffling and interpreting. This is the way that it works. Exactly. This is exactly the reaction.
Yeah, I mean, well, non-believers are destined to go to hell, and some will tell you to leave you alone, right? Is this referring to the Muslim?
Yeah. But it doesn't really make sense as such. So thank you for this. Thank you very much. You've made my point. Thank you. Okay, and this is where I had to stop. I couldn't anymore. I mean, there's only 10 sentences today. I'm sorry, but I couldn't make 20. Now, I don't want to spend an hour on this one sentence, but this is crazy. Now, sentence number 50 says, they hate if good happens to you and rejoice when bad happens because they prepared. Now, the explanation, if pirates gain lots of loot, they grieve. And when the pirates get killed, like during the Battle of Uhud, they say they stayed behind. Or you have Maududi, who says, in this passage, a demarcation has been made between the attitudes of a man of the world and of a man of God. Whatever the man of the world does, he does it to please his own self. He exults if he attains some worldly ends, but feels utterly dejected if he fails to attain them. Besides, he depends entirely on his material resources for his success and feels encouraged if these are favorable, but loses heart if these are unfavorable. Now, this is what Maududi makes from the sentence, they hate if good happens to you and rejoice when bad happens, because they prepared. So
Yeah,
you have
like
totally different explanations of the same sentence, which is totally nonsensical.
Yeah, it does. It does give, what do you call it? I had the word in my mind. It's sort of, it's kind of displaying human nature. That's kind of the normal behavior of human beings. I kind of don't see what's wrong with that. Like, if you don't like somebody and if they're doing bad, you kind of be happy. Everybody kind of feels somewhat the same way.
Yeah, and this is bad, morality, I would call it.
wait. I think you guys are mistaken a little bit. I think because there's a understanding within many faith traditions that that this worldly gain is not the end all, mean all of everything. There's something greater waiting. You know what I mean? So I think this is what it's alluding to.
Yeah, that's what I feel. That's also something I would lean towards too, if that's the interpretation.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you go to the different, if you go to Ibn Abbas, if you go to Jalalain, if you go to Ibn Kathir, if you go to the various interpretations of this, they are all completely different. And this is why I took the Maududi one, who is completely off the rails, because if you take Al-Jalalain, this makes the most sense, if this is the kind of a context that you're talking about. But you need to create your own context, because there is nothing here to understand why this was said, to whom this was said, and what sense it makes here. They hate if good happens to you, rejoice when bad happens. Okay, yeah, a lot of people do that and it's bad. Okay, but what does it tell you?
Tells me
This
there's
is
a
exactly what
diversity.
Rob has just pointed out. Ibn Kathir, Allah emphasizes the enmity the hypocrites have for the Prophet. Okay, so this is one way of interpreting it, but this is totally different than what the other two are saying. So anybody can make of this what they want. This is my problem.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that good? Isn't that evidence that Islam has a potentiality of having diverse opinions? Isn't that a good thing?
No,
From your
it
world,
means that you don't
worldview?
need the Quran. It means you can take any sentence, you can say anything you want, you don't need the Quran.
Yeah, but the Quran is from God.
Well, obviously not.
Well, Muslims say it's from God, and that has a bigger weight than non-godly origin.
Yeah, Sparkcat, we've talked about it many times, right? Would you not expect the Quran to be clear with only one interpretation, everything else being invalid? Is that not what you would expect from a God who wants to send you a clear message?
I don't know. Does that reflect nature?
Well,
Does
No,
that
it doesn't
reflect
reflect
creation?
God. It's nothing to do with nature. Does it reflect God and what he wants? Surah 3, 138, Surah 12, 111 seem to make it clear that he's supposed to be sending you a clear message. If that's the case, then how is it that you can have different, quote-unquote, valid interpretations?
I don't know.
Surely there's only one
I don't
valid
know.
interpretation. Everything else is invalid, and it should be clear to everybody.
So you're asking for a standardized interpretation, while a lot of Muslims are satisfied with a multiplicity of interpretations.
that's the problem.
Is that what you would expect if somebody was sending you a message? That's my question. Do you expect, especially from somebody who created you and apparently can send yours, well, is he capable of sending you a clear message? That's actually a question in and of itself.
I'm
Is he
okay with the. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm okay with the interpretations varying. I'm okay with that.
Why
I don't know.
would you be okay?
Why do I need it to be standardized?
Because
No,
the Quran
it needs to
says
be clear.
sending a clear message.
Yeah, but
So if
when
it's
the
sending a clear
Quran,
message, hang on a second. Smart Cat, if it's sending a clear message, seems to me there's only two options. You can tell me if I'm missing something. Either it's the case that they cannot understand, the message is clear and humans can't understand it, or the message is unclear and humans could understand it if it were clear. And if those are the only two options, who's to blame for that?
Okay, this is my slightly different view. The Quran contains about 10,000 words, 100 chapters, 114 chapters, right? And it's supposed to be a message for all time, all places, all mankind. So if it was standardized, it would leave out some possibilities of events and understandings. But if it was
Why?
varied in interpretation, It has the ability to be interpreted when it needs to be interpreted in the right manner.
No.
Yeah,
no,
that doesn't
no.
make sense. That's to me, that's irrational. And it's irrational because you have a basis that tells you that it's supposed to be clear. And unless what you mean by clear is that people can have their own quote unquote clear interpretation, which is, in my view, a contradiction. Clear means that everybody who reads something understands it in the same way. If I give you 1 + 1 = 2, there's nobody that can say, well, do you know what? I want to interpret that differently. I'll say it's 2.5 today or 3 tomorrow because I feel like it, or the sun is coming up, or it's winter or it's summer. Everybody understands that the same way. There's nowhere you can go on earth that people that can do addition are going to tell you that it means something different.
Okay.
That's what I understand to be clear. So do you understand the same meaning of clear, or do you have a different interpretation of what clear means?
I understand the meaning of clear. I understand the meaning of
Is it
clear.
the same as what I understand?
Okay. Yeah, but you're superimposing a square into a brick. You know what I'm trying to say? Like you're superimposing a circle into a square. Excuse me, I meant to say it that way. Just give me a second. What I'm saying is, okay, let's begin with this. The Quran, according to the Muslims, is from God. And when you read the Quran, it's speaking to the reader in a language, not mathematics, but in a language, okay? And there's rules to reading the Quran. One of those things is you can't imagine God. You know, you can't, because when you imagine God, you contain God. So the language becomes abstract. And there's only 10,000 words, okay? Right? And 114 chapters, and it's supposed to serve an individual and mankind from the moment of revelation to the end of time in every possible way. So there's stages in people's developments. You know, if we go back to your mathematical explanation, it's like, how can I teach algebra to a person that doesn't understand variables? They have to go through a learning process. So it's the same thing. You know, a person who reads the Quran the first time doesn't absorb everything because it doesn't make sense to them, because they haven't developed as a person or went through specific experiences where the Quran makes sense to them. So because of that, the variability is evidence that it's, you know, divine.
Personally, I find that a very valuable analogy, because keep in mind, the Quran time and time consistently says, chapter 2, chapter 3, 11, 12, 16, constantly says we have a clear message for all mankind. But then it presents us with this random sentence, and it has no meaning. Nobody can figure out the meaning. So that just defeats the purpose. That practically defeats the purpose. So either, even if it's from this God, he's a huge prankster and he's fucking with us, or this is man-made. These are the two possibilities that we have. And the author of the Quran himself is constantly contradicting himself.
Hank, but let me ask you something, Smart Cat. You said something quite mind-blowing, I guess you could say. You said that the fact that people can't understand this in the first reading, etc., is evidence of that it's from the divine. So let me ask you this. What to you would be evidence that it's not from the divine?
If it was standardized, then it only had one meaning for one person for one time.
No, but hang on a moment. We're saying that it has a meaning. The meaning, we're not talking about for one time. We're just talking about, can it be clear to be understood by all people? So you're not even following what the Quran itself says. So I'm saying...
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You have to look at the complexity of mankind. The complexity of mankind, for example, we don't have the same identical thumbprints, right? Our genetic structure is not the same. There's a multiplicity in mankind and creation. So a divine scripture has to fit the multiplicity of creation, because it's a message for creation.
No.
So if it was standardized, like a mathematical equation, like 1 + 1 = 2, it falls short to the experience of mankind.
But he's trying to send a message. He's not sending an experience. We have the experience. He sends a message. So your view, if I understand it correctly, is that it's divine because it's not clearly understood, and the book says it should be clearly understood. And your response is, well, if it was clearly understood and it only had one meaning, well, you added the word for one time. I think we can remove that qualifier. If it only had one meaning and it was properly understood, then you think it would be then it would only come from man. Is that your view?
Yeah, 100%, because then it would form the writing style of legislation, like or man-made writing style, So if it will fall short to the human experience. The human experience is part and parcel of figuring out and getting to know God, So this whole thing, your dichotomy is upside down, in my opinion.
No, but then if you're saying it's too rigid, that is the whole point. What is the point if you don't have rigidity, if you don't have the system that gives you clarity? What is the point of having it in the first place?
Well, why would you need a rigid system?
It's guidance.
If you have a rigid system, then it inherently, in my mind, a rigid system would inherently benefit some people at the cost of other people. But
no.
a message,
No, come on, you can't say it like that. You can't,
no,
then there's no point in having everything. You can't say today eating pork is okay and tomorrow it's not. I mean, it says you don't eat pork, so there it's rigid. So how do you know which ones are rigid and which ones are not? And here we have something that you can't just say, okay, if you have a very clear command, which is don't eat pork, then this is something that you can't change, can you? Now you have, on the other hand, another sentence which says, well, anything can happen. And then you have sentences in the Quran which say, well, some are rigid and some are not, and some are to be understood as direct commands, and some are to be understood as allegorical. Now, who decides what is what? If you have such a lenient way and such a sloppy way of defining everything, anybody can do whatever they want. This is supposed to be guidance. This is supposed to give you a handbook, a guidance, some sort of I don't know, a ruler. This is a ruler according to which you are supposed to run your life. That is what it's supposed to do. If you want to have sex with anybody, if you want to eat what you want, if you want to do what you want, then you don't need the Quran, do you? But what you are saying now, well, I am taking the bits and pieces that I like to be rigid and the other ones I don't. So what you are doing is you are building your own religion.
No, this is not true. Okay,
yes.
No, there's some things that are clear, that like it's don't eat cretin, don't eat carcasses. Those are clear. But then there are some things that are clear, that requires elevated consciousness, God consciousness, taqwa.
Why?
What kind of consciousness are you talking about?
Unconsciousness.
Yeah, that's true.
Taqwa. It's loosely translated. I'm pretty sure you guys all came across it. It's loosely translated as consciousness of God or wariness of God, but it's God consciousness is the closer translation. So when a person is God conscious, and a person who's not God conscious, if they read the same thing, one person who's not God conscious will not understand it, while the other person will understand it.
I would challenge that statement. So if you've put down something on a piece of paper and you've written it down, to suggest that a person who is a theist would understand something more than an atheist or a non-God believer, I would challenge that statement.
No, I didn't say that. I said God conscious. Conscious.
Well, what's the difference between conscious of God and? Please define that, because I'm failing to discern what you mean by that.
God consciousness is when it's being conscious of God all the time. Okay, so when a person is not conscious of God, you can say that this person is, sleeping or unconscious of God. Okay, so it's two different mind states in a human being, and all humans.
Yeah, but you're going to be judged by this, Smart Cat.
So
nobody is going to ask you whether you were God conscious or not. You're going to be judged. At the end of the day, somebody's going to look at you and say, did you do
That's
everything the
beautiful.
way
That's
it was
the beautiful
prescribed?
thing. No, that's the beautiful thing. No one's going to judge you for God consciousness except for God.
Yeah, but then what is the point of having this? If the God knows that you are God conscious or not, and then you can do whatever you want to, then you can't be judged if you're not God conscious. What kind of a statement is that?
No,
Smart
you're
Cat, can I ask your opinion?
you're confusing the legal aspect of Islam with the spiritual aspect of Islam. God consciousness is about a spiritual disposition of a person who is conscious of God, and you're confusing it with the legal part. We're not talking about the legal part, because the
But
verse
you're
was
being
talking about
judged
people.
according to the legal part.
Yeah, who does the judging? Society does the judging, right?
No, Jesus does.
I'm sorry, we're going all over the place.
Yeah,
Thunderous
but
wanted to say
this is the
something.
crux of, yeah, but this is the crux of the matter. We're going through the Quran to see what does the Quran actually tell us. It tells us here, if they hate if good happens and rejoice when bad happens, because
Yeah,
they
that's what we were on.
prepared. Because they prepared what? What does this tell me? This sentence is totally nonsensical. It, on the one hand, describes something that people tend to do, and on the other hand, it tells you something that is totally out of everything. What does it mean when bad happens because they prepared? What does it mean? What is the Quran trying to tell me? How does the Quran prepare me here for the test? This is a test, and the Quran is supposed to prepare me for the test and the questioning that I'm going to receive on Judgment Day. How am I going to be able to justify myself if I don't even know what it says here? What does it mean, rejoice when bad happens because they prepared? What does it mean? It has no meaning. How does the Quran give me any kind of guidance, any kind of a yardstick that I can go and be judged against when Judgment Day comes? What is this?
You're putting many concepts together against the verse. You're taking a whole collage of Islamic concepts and you're placing them on top of each other against this verse. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry.
So what does the Quran do? What is the purpose of the Quran? It only has one purpose.
Yeah, it's a sign. It's a sign, and there's no doubt in it. And it's
but there is a lot of doubt.
It's guidance for the God conscious.
Smart Cat, can I ask you? I don't want it to appear that this is an irrelevant question, but for me it is. Your opinion or your view: is the Quran created or uncreated? Actually, I thought it was, many would have considered that an irrelevant question, but the fact that you can't decide in such a long pause might prove it is a relevant question.
No. The Quran, okay, is an attribute of God. Okay. So
an attribute. Can you? No. Let me finish. When we talk about attribute, we talk about wisdom, power, mercy. Those are attributes.
Yeah, those are attributes. 100%.
Yeah. But yes.
No, hold up.
Romeo and Juliet was not an attribute of Shakespeare. Okay. It was a book written by Shakespeare. That's not an attribute.
Okay. No, hold up.
When it says
very familiar, Muslims and non-Muslims who are reading into Islam are very familiar with the concept of attributes. When we say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, we say the beneficent and the merciful. Okay,
yeah, so a book is not an attribute, and Allah does not describe the book as an attribute of His either. So you're putting an attribute on Allah when He Himself does not define that attribute for Himself. So I'm asking a simple question.
That's okay.
It's a simple question, and I'll repeat it in case you missed it the first time. Is
Okay.
the Quran created or uncreated?
The essence of the Quran is uncreated.
No, that's not what I asked. When you use the term essence, that's a bit like the vapor coming off an aftershave.
No. The same
So-
way as the essence of mercy on this earth is uncreated, the essence of the Quran on this earth is uncreated.
I'm asking a simple question again for the third time, and I'll ask it for the final time. Hopefully,
No,
I'll get.
I
an
gave
answer
you a
this time.
very simple answer. It's very straight.
I'll ask the question again. Is the Quran created or uncreated? Okay, because there are 2 points of view in Islam. I'd like to know yours. Now, if I ask any other Muslim, they'll give me a definite single answer. It is either created or uncreated.
No.
I'm asking you for
you
your
ask,
opinion.
You ask a layman Muslim, they'll give you the answer you want. But the answer that it is, the essence of the Quran is an attribute of God, therefore it's uncreated, but it's not co-eternal. It's dependent on God's existence. So
I wasn't going to go down that
God
road of co-eternal, but just to be clear, I wasn't going to go down the road of co-eternal. I wasn't going to go down
thank
that
God.
road.
Yes,
Okay,
the essence of the Quran is created.
Or thank the Quran, as the case may be.
Listen,
So I'll ask the question again.
Thunderous, you're a very smart guy. Thunderous, you're a very smart guy. You know that the Quran was compiled, the physical Quran with ink and paper was compiled 20 years after the Prophet Muhammad and formalized after another 20 years. At the very best, according to Muslim sources, the physical copy of the Quran that we have today is a byproduct of 40-year stewardship of the early Muslim
You're
community.
answering the question. You're answering the question.
This
You're
Quran,
answering a
physical
question I
copy,
already know the answer to. You're answering a question I already have the answer to.
So
That
if
is,
you want to know if the physical Quran that we have today is uncreated, no, it's a physical Quran. It was created in some
that's not
point
the
of time.
question I asked. The
Okay.
Quran was in heaven before it was on earth, and you know exactly where I was going with that.
No.
I'm asking the question.
I don't conceptualize it. I don't conceptualize it like that. I don't conceptualize it as a book hanging around in heaven. The Quran is an attribute of God. It manifested on earth in the form that we have it today. That's it.
Okay, I'll leave it there.
I mean, there's a lot of things that you can now go and ask about this.
I know.
Smart Cat, I think you need to think about this again, because you've just opened yourself up to a whole barrage of questions now with this. But okay.
I asked it just so I can I just confirm why I asked the question?
Thunderous, because you're asking the question and I'm answering it, and you're not happy that I'm giving you the answer that you're not getting. So get to the point.
No, that's not the. I think the point I'm asking is, if we're trying to understand what the Quran means, if the Quran is uncreated, then I'd have to ask the question: does Allah even know what it means? Because Allah didn't write the Quran, because it was uncreated. But if Allah did write the Quran, then surely Allah would know what it means. And when he turns around and says something like, "It is a book made clear, a book easy to understand," he knows it's easy to understand. It's a book made clear because he's the author behind it.
Okay, so, here's the problem. This is the problem. In the Arabic, it's referred as ذَلَكَ الْكِتَابِ many times. Okay? Book in Arabic is mushaf. Book is mushaf. Kitab is different. Kitab has a different root word in it. It means what is written, a broad translation. So in what is written, so there's many ways to interpret the verse. So
Mustafa,
you're creating the fallacy by saying it's a book in heaven. It's not a book in heaven. Quran is an attribute.
The word kitab in Urdu means book. Am I correct on that?
Yes, the word kitab in Urdu is book.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're being told that the word in Arabic, the word kitab, does not mean book.
Urdu. That's Urdu. That's a borrowed word,
Urdu took
word
that
in a
from
different
Arabic.
language.
Urdu took that from Arabic.
No, how the Urdu language, by the way, is a beautiful language. It's a beautiful poetic language.
Thank you.
I love it. And but they have lots of loan words.
Can we leave this here? Can we leave this here now,
but
because we're not getting anywhere?
If you go to the Semitic.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand. I just wanted to
Okay.
understand the point of view. That's all.
There are a lot of open questions here. Rob, could you just bring the original back on screen there for sentence number 50 in chapter 9? Because I want to see...
59, did you say?
No, 50 in chapter 9.
Chapter 9, verse 50. Yeah, 1 second.
Hello, Orthodox Moor. Let's just finish this quickly and then we'll get to the next one. Because I have one last question. I said they rejoice when bad happens because they prepared. Can anyone give me any indication what this because they prepared? Here it says we took our matter before, or we took our matter in hand before, we took our precautions beforehand. I do not understand that. Does anybody have any idea what this could mean?
Give me a second. I'm reading it. I'll let the floor open for anybody else. I want to hear your opinions as well.
Because I have no opinion. I have no idea what this could mean. I'm baffled. I have no idea what this book is trying to tell me. Because we took our matter before, and that is why they rejoice. I don't understand that.
Now, I think I kind of want to ask the question, is this talking about the same quote-unquote hypocrites that was talking about earlier?
I do not know. I would imagine that it does, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Jalalain, if good fortune such as a victory of some spoils befalls you, it vexes them. But if an affliction, some hardship befalls you, they say, we took our precaution judiciously when we stayed behind before this act of disobedience, and they turn away rejoicing at what has afflicted you. So, and even Ibn Qasir, actually, Allah emphasizes the enmity that the hypocrites have for the Prophet. So so this is what we can get out of. And then Tanwir al-Miqbas, conquest and spoils of war was on the day of Badr. Before the hypocrites, killings and defeat, such as during the Battle of Uhud, the hypocrites Abdullah ibn Ubay and his host took precaution of staying at home before the calamity took place. And they turn away from jihad, well pleased in that which was befallen the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his companions on the day of Uhud. This is an interesting one. Like, is it talking?
Okay.
It's the Battle of Uhud.
Okay,
Yeah, you would.
so stop. You have a couple of explanations from various scholars. One goes through a historical context. The other one gives a broad context of battle, and the other one, Ibn Kathir, he does he personalizes it between Prophet Muhammad and the hypocrites. So
we can do whatever we want with this?
No. So I guess this is irrelevant to you because it's not personal. So you want a personal explanation for that.
No,
so
I just want to understand what this means. What is the Quran trying to tell me as the reader? Because remember, this is for me. I am the reader, and the Quran is trying to talk to me as the reader, and he's trying to tell me what it is that I need to do so that I can go and end up in heaven. This is what the Quran is doing. That's the only purpose the Quran has. Again, this is the same thing that I'm saying all the time. This is the basis.
I see an underlying factor, which is, of course, it's talking about a certain type of people. Again, like, I know I'm harping on the hypocrites aspect, but that does seem to be the underlying theme with at least the three different interpretations. And what it kind of, I feel like it's talking about to like this kind of people who will be like, oh, thank goodness we didn't participate in this.
I mean, yeah, it would make sense. It's just that when I read this is bad. Really,
well, yeah,
this is bad.
Yeah, it's not the first thing that comes to a person's mind, right? But if a person was God conscious, you know, it seems like, you know, your enemies delight in your, you know, in your misfortune, and they they grieve when you are, receive blessings, like that could be anything. If you want to personalize it, it's like, oh, that miserly guy in school, he got mad at me for having a 95 in math, so it's, so you can personalize it that way if you like, it doesn't take that much effort to see the text in a personal matter, and it doesn't change the meaning between the three tafsir. It seems like it has a common theme, a common narrative, a common denominator. If you just follow the first three tafsirs, the interpretations of these scholars, like you could personalize it. Why can't you?
Exactly. Okay, I think with that we leave it. Let's go to the next section, which is the Quran. And before we go there, I want to welcome the Orthodox Moor. Do you want to participate in the Quran, or do you want to talk about something? Welcome to 2021 and welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show.
Thank you very much. Peace to the panel, peace to the chat. I would like to come on to see if I can schedule a conversation with Rob for next week. We were supposed to talk this week. I showed up last week and he wasn't here. He said he wasn't going to be. But I thought you guys typically go live on the weekend, and Fridays can be a busy day for me. So I got to schedule some things out so I can be able to come through and have that conversation with Rob. So one, I was trying to figure out what time do you normally go live? And two, the next time you go live, can I be the first one to go up so me and Rob can just knock our issues out, and then y'all can go on to the next one after that.
Yeah, but hang on, if I understand you correctly, you would like to speak to Rob about this?
Sure, yeah.
Well, it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be me, but that's fine. I mean, we're every Friday, 8 p.m. UK time is our start time.
Okay. So I will be here next Friday at 8 p.m.
Just before you do, so we don't waste too much time, Moore, I have one question for you now, and that is, do you use the same Quran that I use, as in like Quran X?
I can't. I deal with Koran corpus. You know what I'm saying? I don't really stick to one Quran.
Okay, I mean, as long as it's these Sahih or Yusuf Ali or whatever these translations are, as long as we're both accepting these translations, that's fine. Then you can come back next week.
Well, I think the issue is that I don't accept the translations or whatnot. So a lot of what I'm going to be doing is going into the what it says in Arabic or whatnot. So I don't have an issue with you talking about translation.
Okay, so you're happy with the translations, the standard ones that are on Quran.com or Quran X or whatever the case is? Any of those are
like
fine.
In our last conversation, I literally challenged one of the words being translated, right? On Koran corpus, right? In those English translations.
Yeah, okay, so all I want to know is whether you're going to accept these translations 411 and 412 as they're written in all of the standard English translations.
Oh, I don't challenge the English translations, no.
Okay, so you accept whichever English translation.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Whichever one you want to bring up for 411, 412, I'm down. That's fine.
That's fine. Yep. Okay. We're here every day
does it make sense to do this here? If this is going to be a one-on-one person debate, does it make sense to do this here on the Gin and Tonic? Doesn't it make more sense then to go to separately and then you will have all the time in the world and we don't have to stick to a schedule, we don't have to do anything. Doesn't that make more sense then?
Well, I don't think it's going to take that long, Stops, or at least I hope it isn't.
No, it's not, because we make quick arguments. So if we can, Rob, if you're down, I'd also like to talk about 434.
Yeah, we've done that already, so I'm not sure that there's any more mileage in that one. We can do it maybe next week, or you can speak to one of the other guys if you like on that one. I think you and I have had that conversation already. So if you want to do 411 and 412.
Can I say hello to the Orthodox more?
What was that? What was that, Smart Cat?
Smart Cat?
Can I? Yeah. Salam alaikum, brother. How you doing?
Wa alaikum salam. How you doing, fam?
Orthodox more?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, brother?
All is well. Can't complain. How you doing?
Welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show.
Thank you.
To the Gin and Tonic Show.
Thank you.
Normally, I'm outnumbered. By these intelligent brothers here.
But not outwitted.
Not fair.
We always beg to differ on the details. And thank you for coming on the show. And your opinion is will be very valued. And thank you for coming on the show. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, no worries. I do have to jump off, but I will definitely be back next Friday at 8 p.m. UK time.
Okay, so we're going to, because I was going to say, well, but why don't you just chat now? If it's going to be just a quick 10-minute chat or something, then you can do it now before we go and start the second pillar of Islam. But if you want to do it next week, then we do it next week. Then we move everything by, how long are you going to need? 20 minutes, half an hour?
I would hope, I'm thinking maybe a half hour for each topic at max.
Half an hour for each topic?
At max.
Okay,
Well,
how many topics do you want to cover? I don't understand.
Yeah, I'll only do the 411 and 412. I'll just do the inheritance. And if you want to talk to more about 434, just a quick one.
No.
His view is that the word beat in 434 doesn't mean beat. It means something else. So, and he and I have had that conversation. So I don't think there's any value in me having that conversation again. But if you want to have
there is no value in talking about this at all. If somebody doesn't accept the word and what it means, okay, we've been through this 50 million times. It doesn't make sense to have it mean anything else.
411,
no point in
412,
talking about it. And we're just going to have a clash of different
opinions. I do have to
opinions.
cut now, gentlemen. So I will see y'all next Friday at 8 p.m. UK time. 411, 412.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Peace.
Just to explain this again, if you don't agree that beat means beat, then we're just going to have a clash of opinions over the contents of a word, and we're just going to repeat the whole time. There's never going to be any consensus. There's not going to be no outcome because you're talking about two different words. That doesn't make sense. So if you think it doesn't mean beat, then it's stupid.
Let's find a word that both parties can agree to.
Well, this doesn't
and
work.
Start from there.
This is the whole point. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, what do you guys say it means?
Let's do this next week. No, I don't want to talk about 334. Really, 434. This does not make sense. I mean, this has been like this is a dead horse. This has been beaten to death. There's no way, no point, no anything. It's silly to do it. I mean, we've done this so many times. It really doesn't work.
Okay. Let's go with your meaning. We'll start with your meaning. Go for it.
Let's go and take a look at the Quran, at the way that it is structured around the pillars, the 5 pillars of Islam. Now, last week we talked about the first one. So we have belief, prayer, charity, fasting, and pilgrimage. Last week we talked about belief, the Shahada. We talked about what it is not, all the problems around it. We spent a great deal of time on analyzing what this belief actually is. So let us do something about the prayer today. What I have done is I have now I can go back here into this and this and this, and Rob is not going to laugh this time because now this is working.
Looks good. Be just very, very small.
Okay. Just do this. All right. Can everybody see this?
I can see this, yes.
Okay. Does somebody else want to go through this? Because I don't want to read all this, and I don't want everything coming from me. I just put together a couple of things to explain what prayer is. I would like to go through this as quickly as possible and then come back to the problem areas after we've seen what the 11 steps are. So this is my suggestion. So if somebody else wants to go and read through this or just present this, then this would be great. Because it's the second most important thing in Islam. It's the second pillar, and it's of vital importance for a Muslim to pray to God, where it is not like in the Christian, it is not a monologue that you are holding. It is not an exercise the way that some Muslims try and tell me that it's a combination of spirituality and yoga, but it is a contact prayer. In other words, it's telling your God, well, I'm still here, and I want to talk to you, and I'm still a faithful Muslim. And it's not actually asking for yourself, but I'm just begging for help for so and so, guide so and so, but it's more removed than the direct, can you please let me win the lottery or something. It's not like that. So the prayer in Islam is slightly different, but there are problems with it because you don't know how many, with what contents, why and how, what direction, what is ritualistic or what is the purpose and sense with it today, and what are the details. So what I like to do is just go through the steps. Does somebody want to do this? Or maybe Thunder, you can do this because you've done. Oh, Mustafa, you've also done
Yeah, I
this.
can do this. Yeah, I've done it. I used to do
I
this.
don't mind reading a bit. If there's a big script there, I don't mind sharing some of the scripts to read.
Sorry, what?
I'll say I don't mind sharing some of the script to read. You know, if you want to share it, or if you need a reader.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So Mustafa, then you take one step or sentence or whatever, then Thunder can join in so that you can do it between the two of you.
Okay. So for the 11 steps, okay, the way to offer salah is stand upright facing the direction of Al-Kaaba. This position is called the Qiyam, and the direction of...
Hang on, you're jumping.
Oh, sorry. So, okay, so you want me to start with the wudu?
Because this is very,
Okay,
this is
perfect,
part
yeah.
of the ritual. It's very, very important that you do this. You can't pray without the wudu.
Yes, absolutely. So having cleansed yourself by the wudu. So the wudu is sort of like a ritual cleansing. You may proceed to perform salah. Wudu is a ritual cleansing before your salah. However, you must make sure that you have a clean body and a clean place to pray, and that you're wearing clothing free of impurities. Basically, no jizz on your clothing, or no urine, or no
Semen.
secretion. So the minimum clothing required for a salah, and this is specifically for males, A, any clothing that covers from the navel to the knees, that is preferred clothing. And for females, any clothing that covers all of the body, including the head, except the face, hands, and according to Imam Abu Hanifa, the toes and the portion of the front of the feet.
So it gets very technical. It gets very precise, and it's human-made.
Go ahead, Thunder.
Right. The way to offer salah is stand upright, facing the direction of Al-Kaaba. This position is called Qayyum, and the direction is called Qibla in Arabic. The Qibla in North America is towards the east, with a slight angle towards the north.
The second way, make niyyah or intention in your prayer, in your heart, for the prayer that you want to pray. And just an added note, you can do it in any language.
Point 3. Raise your hands to your ears and say, Allahu Akbar. This means Allah is great. This is called Takbiratul Ihram.
It's greatest, just to be precise.
I'll differ on that. That's why I didn't want to commit myself to it.
Now place your right hand on top of your left hand on the chest and look downward on the place where your forehead will touch the ground in the sujood or prostration, and recite silently, Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa tabarakasmuka wa talala jaduka wa la ilaha ghairuka. This means... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, sorry.
Right.
This means, oh Allah, how perfect you are, and praise be to you. Blessed is your name, and exalted your majesty. There is no God but you. Only recite this supplication, Subhanaka, at the beginning of the first rak'ah.
Then recite silently, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
This is called Tawud, and it means I seek shelter in Allah from the rejected one, Satan.
Then recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
This is called Tasmaya, and it means in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful.
After this, recite Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter of the Noble Quran.
Oh, I can do it too.
I don't think we want to do this whole thing. I mean, but you want to, unless you want to.
All right. So when you recite the Alhamdulillah, we'll read the translation. All praises and thanks to be Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the most gracious, the most merciful, master of the day of judgment. You alone we worship. From you alone we seek help. Guide us along the straight path, the path from those whom you favored, not of those who earned your anger or went astray.
Okay, you must recite Surah Al-Fatiha in each unit, rak'ah, of the prayer. If you pray alone, however, if praying behind an imam and he recites loudly, then it is not necessary for you to recite it.
Step 6. Now recite any other passage from the Noble Quran. For example, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you can, this passage. This means in the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful, say He is Allah, the one, Allah, eternal and absolute. He begets not, nor is He begotten. There is none co-equal to Him.
7. Now bow down, saying Allahu Akbar, and place your hands on your knees and say silently, Subhana Rabbiya Adhim. This means, how perfect is my Lord, the Supreme, 3 times. This position is called Raku. Keep your head in line with your back and look down toward the place of sujud. See step 9.
Step 8. Stand up from the bowing position saying, Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allah hears those who praise Him. Rabbana lakal hamd. This means, our Lord, praise to you.
Prostrate on the floor saying, Allahu Akbar, with your forehead, nose, palms of both hands, your knees and toes all touching the floor. Then recite silently, Subhan Rabbiya Allah. How perfect is my Lord, the highest, 3 times. This position is called sujud. Keep your arms away from the sides of the body and the ground.
Step 10. Sit up from the floor saying Allahu Akbar. Sit upright with your knees bent and palms placed on them and say Rabbi Firli. This means, oh my Lord, forgive me.
Say Allahu Akbar.
I think this we can, this is getting very long. I think this we can just shorten, I think.
I was enjoying this.
Really, you need to say this 3 times and then this and this.
Yeah.
Because now it gets really, really, really involved. Because you need to say all these things and it's very precise how you need to sit, how you need to keep what foot, what finger, what this. And I mean, with all fingers together in the fist except the index finger, stick the index finger straight out, put your left hand on the left thigh. Now, I mean, come on. This is amazing. And then this means greetings God, da 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 da, and 3 rakah, and then you have to say this, then this, and this. And then it gets even why this means Allah, seek refuge from the torment of hellfire, and then you get to now to. Okay, somebody read 11 and tell me what this means.
Okay, so number 11. Now turn your face to the right, saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, peace be and the mercy of Allah be upon you, and to the left repeating the same words. This completes the 2 rakah salah. So what this is basically the I've only heard this in Sunni Islamic circles. This is not very common in Shia circles, but this is what you're thanking the 2 angels that are writing your deeds.
Exactly. So you are greeting the angels on your left shoulder and your right shoulder, the ones who are writing everything down. The one on the left, the bad, and the one on the right, the good deeds, as though Allah didn't know these things. Okay, then you have made your sujood, sit up, silently recite, then furthermore, the one and so on and so forth. So that's it. So this is all that we have on prayer. So this is the entire ritual. A whole lot of things that you need to remember. Now we're going to come back to this. And now I want to go and look at these problems that I see. What is it that we find about the prayer that we have just seen, which is very, very specific, in even to the extent that it tells you where to put your index finger and where to put your left knee and right knee and what ankle and where is this in the Quran? Where do you get any of this information that we have just sort of gone through, which is the standard ritual?
It actually isn't in the Quran, surprisingly. Yeah, I think someone was saying, sorry about that. Someone was saying something?
Isn't it down to the Persian culture of each position represented your stature as far as subservience was concerned? For instance, if you was to lay prostrate on the ground, that recognized your position, or the person that you're bowing down to, their position and your position in society. So the posture was a recognition of the person that you're doing obeisance to and your position in relation to them, proskynesis. So if you type in proskynesis, which is PROSKYNESIS, to Google, you go to Google Images, that's where it is. It's a Persian culture.
Okay, so the thing is that none of what we see here is mentioned in the Quran.
No, but we see it in the influences of Islam, for instance, in this instance, Persian culture.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that even the number of prayers that is, accepted, which is 5, right? The number 5 is not mentioned anywhere in Quran either. So even the number of times we have to do it in a day is not mentioned. The only time it's mentioned in chapter 17 specifically, it just makes it out to be 2 or 3, and that's the Quranist perspective. But it doesn't necessarily describe a ritual. However, the ritual described in the Quran is more of a candle vigil, which is strange.
The thing is, on that, when people can say that the Hadith do not abrogate the Quran, the 3 prayers in the Quran are actually abrogated by the Hadith, so the Hadith do abrogate the Quran.
To a certain extent, exactly. So on the one hand, it updates it. It gives it more detail. And on the other hand, it says, look, what you're doing in the Quran is absolutely nonsense. You have to do everything different. Now, so the number one question, how many prayers we've just seen can be anything. Some people say 3, some say 5, some say it's not really prescribed at all. It's what is good, because the Quran says that it's not there to make life difficult for you. So it's a very fluid thing that we are experiencing here. Now, what about the contents of the prayer? What does it do? Because I said in the beginning, it is a monologue. I mean, it's talking to a God, but the God never talks back. So it's something that you are doing, having faith that you are contacting this God who is watching you and who is realizing that you are now committing an act which we humans identify as worship. Now, in the Quran, it doesn't say that humans and the jinn are made to worship this God by performing prayer. It just says you need to worship me, but it doesn't say, and here's how. It just says, well, you need to pray. So what happens is it just confirms the existing rituals. Now, where do those rituals come from? Pagans, Christians, and Jews. So,
can I just add on to that?
Yazidis, yeah.
That before the fall of Adam in Islamic heaven and the rebellion of Satan, what was the relationship of intelligent or so-called intelligent creation in Islamic parlance towards Allah, because the Quran hadn't been revealed then? So up until from the moment of the creation of the angels and the jinn and Adam, what was their relationship as far as obedience and prayer concerned? What was the formula? Because it would not have been revealed up until religion came about, and religion in Islamic parts only came about when Adam was sent to the earth after his rebellion or his disobedience. So we don't have any idea of what the relationship between intelligent creation was between intelligent creation and Allah up until man's fall. So that kind of leaves a bit of an ambiguity period of non-activity as far as relationship is concerned, a void, as it were.
I would also add that there's also 5 prayers in the Zoroastrian faith. That there's the concept of 5 prayers, and they're very similar to the 5 prayers that we practice in Islam. But this method, even though Islam claims to be an Abrahamic religion, this ritual is not mentioned in neither the Christian or the Jewish traditions, so to speak, and it comes directly from Zoroastrianism.
But don't the Yazidis also have this?
Oh yes, absolutely. Was it? I'm not very familiar with the Yazidi religion. Was the Yazidi religion prior to Islam, or was it after Islam? Can anyone specify that?
For me, it's an offshoot of Christianity and before Islam.
The old religion.
Oh, it's a very old religion. Okay, no, I think I should do some research on Yazidism.
Okay, so we don't really know, from the Quran at least, what we're doing, how we're doing, what the contents is. Is there any indication why people are supposed to pray?
Oh, and another thing I wanted to add is that the prayer we just saw is the Sunni interpretation of the prayer. The prayer for the Shia Muslims is very different, the Jafari Shia Muslims. The prayer for the Ibadi sect is also very different too. At least in the Ibadi and the Shia prayer, you're not folding your hands when you're in the standing upright position. Your arms are open. And there's an added extra ritual as well, where you sort of like put your hands up like a prayer, or like a praying mantis up to God, and then before you go down for sujood, you have to do that specific ritual in the second rak'ah specifically. So in the second rak'ah they have that. It's not in the Sunni tradition, but it's definitely in the Shia tradition. And the number of rak'ahs in Sunni Islam and Shia Islam, as far as I know, are very different. Rak'ah means how many times do you sujood, or how many times do you prostrate. And the way even Shia Muslims end the prayer, we're not thanking the angels. Instead, what they do is they just say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar 3 times, and then they kiss the stone that they're prostrating on. Because in Sunni Islam, the carpet is just flat. You're putting your head on the carpet flat. However, in Shia Islam, there's an extra stone called sajdiga. A sajdiga, it's made of desert sand, and your head is supposed to touch the sajdiga. And then there's many designs of sajdiga. They're very common in Iran, Iraq, and even Pakistan, in the Shia circles. So the sajdiga is what we place our head on in Shia tradition. So those minor differences you kind of see emerging. So, but none of this, like you said, it's not mentioned in the Quran, but then there's these mentions in later writings. So there's a lot of extra added steps, depending on what sect that you are in and you're performing the prayer in.
Okay, so the rituals are then cultural, I would imagine.
Yeah, they're very culturally influenced, and even to the extent that in Pakistan, if you're praying in Pakistan, you very much focused on the ground. Whereas I've actually observed in Iraq that they're not as strict with the eyes, where the eyes are looking necessarily, and how they pray. So even towards this, especially in the past few centuries, it definitely has evolved culturally as well. Because if you see the method of prayer in Iraq and Pakistan, very different. And this is from the same sect of Shia Islam I'm talking about, that the methodology of prayer is very different. So there is constant evolution in the methodology of this the 5 prayers a day. And even another interesting thing in Shia Islam is that there are no 5 prayers. There's 3 prayers. There are technically 5, but there's the Fajr. We call it, then the second one is Zuhrain, which combines Zuhr and Asr, and then Maghriban, which combines Maghrib and Isha. Whereas Sunni Islam has Fajr, Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. And in Sunni Islam, there's also there's also something called a Sunnah prayer, where it's not mandatory, but because Muhammad did it, we can add 2 extra rakat to our prayer. So there's that concept as well in Sunni Islam.
I heard somebody, was it Smartcat or Thunder, who wanted to say something?
No, not me.
Stop. What's this, a sick joke? You're making ex-Muslims redo Salah?
I was actually thinking about that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Can I chime in?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, when we look at Muslim tradition, we see the development of Salah taking place in two places. First in Mecca and Medina. In the beginning, when Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was in Mecca, his followers would meet him secretly in the beginning, and they would perform Salah, but it wasn't the Salah that we see today. It was less organized. It was more like dua. They would come and they would, put their hands together, and they would do communal supplications to God, or individual ones.
Why do you think that is?
It's based on narration. When Prophet Muhammad went to Medina, the formalization of Salah with the standing and the bowing and the times and the adhan and putting your hands to your sides or putting your hands on your navel was established in Medina.
Okay, but why? Why do you think that is? Why doesn't a God, if he wants these things, why doesn't he specify, look, what I want you to do is I want to stand on one foot and then pat your stomach and your pull your left ear. And these are the kind of rituals that he would then want to see. Instead he says, okay, you need to go and get down on your knees, and you need to do this, and you need to look at this. So he's just prescribing rituals, but he doesn't.
No. The Salah tradition is an Abrahamic tradition. Okay? Salah tradition...
It's not.
It's not found in the Jewish or Christian text. Sorry.
No, but they don't pray like this.
No, they don't pray like this. The Salah that we have today that the Muslims perform are uniquely Muslim. But
in Arabic on top of it.
It's uniquely Muslim tradition. Okay, but the elements can be found within ancient Abrahamic traditions.
No.
The ones that are available, the ones that are available today, and the ones that are not available today.
No, the only thing that you find that is common in every culture, like from antiquity all the way to like 100 years ago, is that if somebody wants to worship another human being, then they just go down on their knees. This is a common gesture. This is the only commonality.
Rob, just give me 5 minutes, man. These guys spoke for like 20 minutes and you never interrupted them. Give me 5 minutes and then you can interrupt me, please, with all due respect. Because I have a lot. I've been listening and I want to put everything on the table and we can discuss it. With all due respect. I don't mean to be rude.
Yeah, but if you say something wrong, then I'm going to correct you. I'm sorry.
Okay, can you correct me after? Because I was thinking about it and I don't want to lose
I can't remember everything.
Okay, fine. No problem. I'll let you interrupt me. No problem. Okay. Where was I? I hope I didn't forget anything. Where was I? Yeah, in Medina, the bare bones of Salah tradition was established, okay, and it was formalized about 150 years after the Prophet Muhammad. The Salah traditions that we have today are very, very similar. They're very similar and uniform, and they only differ regionally and in sectarian differences and what Muslims like to call madhabi differences. Now, the most stringent of and legalistic and traditionalist would be the ones you find in the Salafi tradition. They're very, very particular on every movement, every gesture, every extra thing you can add, every obligatory thing you have to include, and every voluntary thing you can include. So I know in places in Iraq and Persia and Pakistan, there's a variety. I know, and also in North Africa, there's a variety, but the bare bones are very similar. Even in the Abadi tradition in Oman, the bare bones are very similar. And the Quranist only guys, the guys that only believe in the Quran, they don't have the raku'. They have the sajda, and they pray only 3 times a day. So they just stand up and they go straight to sujood because they say the raku' is not in the Quran. So
Okay, so everybody does what they want.
Full circle, huh? First circle. Okay, no problem. Yeah, so that's Muslims' take on the matter of salah.
Okay. Now the next question I have is direction. Because the Quran can't make up its mind. It's like there's a God who says, well, you can do whatever you want, and now I'm stepping in. Now I'm saying, now you need to pray in one direction. And then after they've done this for a couple of years, he says, nah, I've changed my mind again. Let's change it again. Let's go to a different place. Now everybody turn around 180 degrees or whatever. Now it's a different direction.
I think the verse says Masjid al-Haram, that turn your heads towards Masjid al-Haram. That's what it says.
But we don't know what that is.
Yeah, Masjid al-Haram, which is like, it roughly translates to the forbidden gathering place.
Again, yeah, but we don't know where this is and what this is. This is the problem.
Yeah. The understanding of generally, at least the Muslim community, is this is the masjid surrounding the cube box, the Kaaba.
Yeah.
And however, there have been revisionists saying that this is not very specific. It's not saying Mecca. It's not saying anything. It's just saying the forbidden gathering place. And this Masjid al-Haram could be anywhere, practically.
Exactly. The next problem that I see is if you're talking about the Kaaba, the black stone in Mecca, if you are 30 kilometers away, this still works, because then Earth seems to be flat. But if you're 3,000 kilometers away, it doesn't work anymore, because you're praying to empty space. So if you are on a sphere, none of this makes any sense, because you're not praying in the direction of, because you're not facing anything except space. And your facing doesn't sort of follow the curvature of the earth. So the other thing I saw here is that it says, if like the Qibla, hear what I'm talking about.
Stubbs, I just understood what you're trying to say.
It says here the Qibla in North America is towards the east, with a slight angle to the north. Now, this is total nonsense. Like if you're in Massachusetts, it can't be to the north. It needs to be to the south.
I have been told this too, like the degrees are towards the north, but for me it's like that doesn't make any sense, because Saudi Arabia is down there. Like it's
exactly.
So
exactly. This only goes for Florida, for the southern tip of Florida.
We use a flat Earth. We use a flat Earth trajectory, trigonometry. We use flat Earth trigonometry.
Then it works, because if you are in the north, like if you are in, and I made this. I showed this in my video, Mecca, Where Art Thou? there's a city in the south of Canada which is called Stag. Now, Stag is exactly opposite of Mecca, and if you go, you can turn west, east, or you can go over the North Pole. So through Moscow, you're actually going through Moscow into Mecca. So you're actually praying more towards Moscow than you are praying towards Mecca, because first you hit Moscow before you hit Mecca.
You mentioned the city. What's the name of the city? Stag?
Yeah.
Are you
I think
sure?
I remember. No, I'm not sure because this is years ago. I did this like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, the first thing I Google, it starts saying Stag Party in Toronto. So
Yeah, no, sorry, no. This is a city in Canada which is very close to the to the USA border.
yes.
And if you go due north, you're going to hit the North Pole. You're going to hit Moscow, and then you're going to hit Mecca. So there are certain things that you call a rum line, for example. So the rum line, which follows the curvature of the Earth, is normally the shortest distance. But if you go to Stag in Canada, it doesn't matter whether you go over the North Pole or straight through Africa. So all this facing on a sphere does not make sense. It's only on a flat Earth that it makes sense when you are saying, I am praying towards Mecca. Because the other problem that you have, which is in the Quran, is if you are facing one area, your back is not allowed to be turned towards Mecca. But if you are on a sphere, if you are facing Mecca, then your back is automatically facing Mecca as well. So the guys in the Quran really didn't know that they were on a sphere. They thought they are on a flat earth, and you need to face Mecca so that your back is not going towards Mecca, which obviously it is when you're on a sphere. So this is quite obvious that we're talking about a flat earth here. So the direction, what they are saying, is totally wrong. So I don't know where they get this from.
And even in the Islamic narrative, the direction changed from in Sahih al-Bukhari, there's the brackets at Jerusalem, but it actually says Sham. Sham was Syria and Palestine, like the Syria province of Rome. So
yeah, this is the broad direction, and this is the problem. This is the problem because there are some indications, let's put it this way, that the original source of the Quran is somewhere in the south, well, I don't know if you want to call it, in the northern territorial area of the Arabic Peninsula, which would be in the south western part of today's Iraq, or in the southern area of Syria. So we don't really know where. We haven't identified it, but this is the indication. And this would substantiate that, yeah.
And Dan Gibson also did this research, and he found, I feel like people should verify this as well. Like, he found that many of the mosques for the first 100 years of the buildings, their Qibla actually faced towards Petra in Jordan, and which was a very famous theory. And he kind of advocates that the Islamic narrative actually happened, but the location we have is wrong. The location is further up north.
Well, he has identified 3 different eras, or what is the plural of era? So, I don't know, time periods. So he's identified 3 different time periods where he says in the beginning everything was towards Petra. Then there was a time period where nobody knew where they were going. They were all over the show.
Yes.
Like, for example, the one in Cordoba is going somewhere completely different. So there are a couple of which are totally out of whack in Yemen as well. And then they harmonize towards Mecca.
And there's a few exceptions too, like, he found like 3 mosques. One of them is the Najaf Mosque in Iraq, which actually faces, strangely enough, it's one of the 3 mosques that faces Jerusalem exactly, but that was built much later. And there's another mosque that originally, I think it's also in Iraq, but it faced Masjid al-Ghutha for some odd reason, and not Mecca. So I think he identifies those mosques as they're all over the place. And some of were the in-between ones, then parallel ones, and then there's, but the Petra ones he finds like the commonality in the earlier ones at least.
Guys, what are you guys talking about? Mecca is right on the map. Qibla means your front, so you face your front to Mecca, where the Kaaba and the stone is. That's it. There's no argument. What are you guys talking about?
Where's your arse facing?
Qibla means your front.
Okay, where's
your
your arse
front face-
facing?
Doesn't matter. Your front
Yes, it
has
does.
to face Qibla. No, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
but your arse is not supposed to point towards Mecca.
Okay, all right. Let's put it this way: on a spherical Earth, everybody's asses point to the Mecca, anyways.
Exactly.
Okay, even if you're in the center, if you follow the trajectory, at some point your ass is going to be pointing towards Mecca, right?
There you go.
So what's the point?
So it doesn't make sense, does it?
It's not about what your ass is pointing to. It's about your face, your mind, your mentality,
No.
your frontal
Smart
direction.
cat.
What's in front of you? Right in front of me
Smart cat.
could be a liquor store, and I'll physically I'll be praying in front of the liquor store, but I'm pointing my body, my essence, my spirit towards Majlis al-Haram, and I'm visualizing Majlis al-Haram. So what's the argument here?
The argument is that if you are in Stag in Canada, it doesn't matter which direction you are pointing. It's always the same. You're going to go via the North Pole, you're going to go east, you're going to go west, you're always going to hit Mecca. But if you are doing that, your bum is pointing towards Mecca at the same time, in the same direction, in the same distance.
Yes. So is my side. If I'm standing at any given moment in time, any part of my body could be pointed towards Mecca. So it's not a big deal. It's
It
only
is
a big deal for people.
because
No,
you're
it's
not
only-
supposed to do it. You're not allowed to point your bum towards Mecca, but you are if you are praying towards Mecca, if you're on a sphere. That's why I'm saying what the people thought at the time is that Earth is flat, because then you can do that. Then if you are pointing your face towards Mecca, your bum is pointing away from Mecca. That is what the point was, but that doesn't work. Also, the other problem is that if you are on a sphere, you cannot point towards Mecca unless you are in the vicinity of something like 30 kilometers within Mecca.
Yeah, because then the trajectory is going off like a rocket. Huh?
Exactly. Those are the two problems that we have. If we are talking about a spherical Earth, which doesn't happen on a flat Earth, but on a spherical Earth it does. So the direction doesn't work.
Yeah,
So-
missile teams, rocket trigonometry still uses flat Earth plane trigonometry. If it's good for scientists, it's good for me.
No, it doesn't work like that. Sorry. It doesn't work.
But the way you want it to work, I don't want it to work that way too. You know, it's funny.
Anyway, so the next point that I came up, which I see as a problem, is this ritualistic, dogmatic, I don't know, the way that it is prescribed, but at the same time, what we've just heard from both Andres and from Smartcat and from Mustafa, that there is no consistency. That there is a basic sort of preponderance towards something, but then everybody does their own thing. So that's another problem. And then, of course, the last thing that I have is the details, because nobody actually knows the details. And we just heard from Mustafa that this was 150 years later. And that matches what I have heard. So prayer is one huge, big problem in Islam. Even though it is so important, nobody knows what they're doing, why they're doing, they're just following it. And this is exactly, Smartcat, you're absolutely on target here, because you're saying, well, if people do it, it's good enough for me. And that's it. And then you just go ahead, but you don't question it. As soon as you start thinking, then you don't.
No, I didn't say if people do it. I said if I'm doing it. I'm doing it. That's what matters for me.
Yeah,
that I'm doing
exactly. Exactly. Rob, you've been terribly quiet. Are you already on Discord?
Nope, I'm just listening in, but it is sort of 10 o'clock now as well.
Yeah. Okay, ladies, gents, and others, this is the time we have for prayer. If there's anything else that you want to do, we can continue quite happily on Discord. And I think what we have is we have this one here. If this is not enough Islam for you, then you can join us on the Discord channel. Otherwise, I'm going to finish today with the Hadith of the week.
Stop. It better be a good one. I don't want no.
Actually, I forgot the Voltaire because I actually have a quote. I wanted to start prayer when the Moor came on, and I forgot about this because Voltaire has a very clever quote regarding. Excuse me. He says, "I have never made but one prayer to God, a very short one. O Lord, make my enemies ridiculous." And God granted it.
Oh, interesting.
I like this. Make my enemies ridiculous. And God granted it. So Voltaire thought that all his enemies are ridiculous. So there you go. Okay, I forgot about. I love this quote. The Hadith of the week is by Abu Huraira, believe it or not. And he says, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, among the signs of a hypocrite are three. Even if he fasts and prays and claims to be a Muslim. Because when he speaks, he lies. And when he gives a promise, he breaks it. And when he is trusted, he betrays. And this is in Sahih al-Bukhari 33 and Sahih Muslim 59. So these are the three signs of a hypocrite.
It's very broad, actually.
Okay,
I'm doing that already.
I know why Stops brought this one up. Huh? Because you think that Muslims lie, betray, and what else is the other one? Break promises.
No.
That's why you brought it. No?
No, I don't. This is I didn't bring this up. This is the Messenger of Allah who brought this up, not me. I'm just quoting it. I'm just going this. Look, I have a long list of hadith. I've got like 180 pages of hadith, and I'm just taking one after the other. So there's nothing, no preferential treatment for anyone. They're
So
all
you're not
equally
being
silly,
sneaky? You're not being
I'm not
sneaky
being
with this
picky.
hadith?
I'm not being picky. I'm just taking them. They're all equally silly, so it doesn't really matter.
So you don't consider this valid in any way, this hadith in particular?
No, they're just fairy tales. And some of them, I mean, even a fairy tale can contain some wisdom, can contain some morality, can contain something that is correct. But it's not necessarily so. So, yeah. All right, that's it. We have managed, my goodness, time flies when you're having fun. So we had 2 hours of Gin and Tonic Show, and we were looking at the second pillar of Islam today. Thank you very much to the panel. Any closing words that you have?
I had lots of good time.
That's good. Oh,
I had a good time.
Thank you for me. Thank you that you came here. Anything? Smart Cat had a good time. Thunderous, did you have a good time?
I always have a good time. I never have a bad time. I'm also glad that Smart came on, and it's good to speak to Mustafa again. And I enjoy his input. Listening to Mustafa is a fresh input from a different angle, and I enjoy his comments too.
And thank you so much, Thunderous. Thank you, Stops. Thank you, Smartcast. Thank you, Rob. I'm glad I was able to also relay a different side as well, like a different sect. Into what we discussed today, and yeah, hopefully I can inject more of a different angle in the future as well. So thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. Rob is not talking to us anymore.
No, I'm fine. Yep, thank you so much. And we will see you again next week.
I don't know why the Moor doesn't come on the Discord channel so we can chat there. I don't know why. I find it difficult. Okay. All right, then we're going to close here. Thank you guys. Thank you guys in the chat. Thank you very much for everybody who joined us today. I see there were some lively discussions. I didn't have all that much time because I have too many screens jumping backwards and forwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Discord channel, Discord server now, and then we're going to spend a couple of minutes there. If anybody wants to have a question or comment, then we can see each other there. Other than that, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Good night.
Bye all.